One thing that I would like all young men to know is that the courts are really your friend.
Okay.
When you are going through the process of being responsible about your child, you will find that the entire court system, clerks, bailiffs, secretaries, and yes, even judges are going to help you immensely.
Hey, Posse, welcome to another episode of Roundup with Rodney and Rodney.
Rodney J. Littles.
And I'm Rodney Butler. Today, we got a great lineup, a great show for you today. We have our usual Politics Corner with Bobby Fryer. We have, today, we have a special guest. We have Judge Harry Bowden on, who's going to bring you a topic that we are sure you're going to learn a lot from and that you are going to enjoy. Rodney, what we got first?
Well, let's welcome our Black Man's Roundtable political contributor, the great Bobby Fryer.
All right, Bobby, can you hear us? Can you see us, brother?
Can hear and see you well. Good to see you both.
Great. Good to see you, Bobby. Before you get started, I want to tell the audience something that the follow was something that I told you guys in pre-recording and pre-production rather is that, well, I'm always told that I blink a lot, right? I blink my eyes a lot to the point where it's irritating to some people. I think it just irritates my wife. But either way, I had an eye procedure done about 4 hours ago. So I just, on my left eye, it was not my eyeball, but my eyelid. And so it feels like a piece of eyelid is in my eye. And I know we all know how that feels when it drops inside of there, the top of my eyelid, not the bottom. So I'm going to be blinking extra extra a lot today. So if it looks a little funny or if it irritates you, I apologize in advance. Bobby, what you got for us on the Politics Corner, brother?
Hey, thanks, Rodney. Listen, first things first. The DNC just concluded last week what I thought was an outstanding convention. Vice President Kamala Harris, I thought, did an excellent job presenting herself with her speech.
Yes, sir.
The person who stole the show. There were some great speakers, great guests. But once again, Michelle Obama, First Lady Michelle Obama, stole the show with an outstanding speech. No more when they go low, we go high stuff. She she kept it real. She told the truth, and she basically took the earrings off and said, "Listen, I'm gonna speak for the real this time. Okay, I'm not holding back nothing." So props to once again to First Lady Michelle Obama. President Obama gave a great speech, and he made a great point to say, "I'm the only one silly enough to go behind her in speaking." So,
Right?
so many guests. You're not gonna get everything perfect. There's still some complaints about them not having one Palestinian speak at the convention, but you can't please everybody. But all in all, I thought it was absolutely outstanding. And hey, representing Georgia, Lil John, the roll call will never be the same
Nope.
anymore. The roll call will never be the same. So
Atlanta in the house.
Atlanta set it off, Georgia set it off. So just expect that going forward. Will not be the same. A couple things about the convention itself. Just before we move on, I thought that I'm really annoyed still hearing people say, "Well, she didn't mention about policy. It wasn't enough policy. I didn't get enough policy." I'm tired of that nonsense. If you've been paying attention to anything that she's been saying, she's put plenty of policy out there. You're just not paying attention, or either you're just not going to vote. So just quit wasting our time with talking about policy. And if you're talking about policy, please, for one thing, what is Donald Trump offering you in terms of policy? Is it Project 2025, which it is? Is it Agenda 47, which it is? They're both the same. So if you want to talk about policy, please let's not go there. You really either don't care about policy or it's just an excuse. And are you going to even vote? So enough of that. Tired of hearing that nonsense. Same thing about an interview. Well, she hasn't done an interview yet. Well, she's scheduled one now with CNN. So we'll see the date when that comes out. So I don't know if it's in a couple of days or whatnot, but she's agreed to an interview. So enough of that. We talked about that last time. Second thing I want to go over real quick, the debate date has been set for September 10th. It's going to be on ABC. Don't have the time yet, but I thought it was absolutely hilarious that the Democrats and Kamala Harris's campaign put the interview of Donald Trump talking about possibly not debating her and putting chicken sounds in the background. I thought it was hilarious. And for me personally, finally, the Democrats have grown a spine to not let the Republicans always push the narrative. Fight back. And I'm glad to see that they're not taking this line down. So for me, I got a good chuckle out of that, seeing them put the chicken sounds in the background with Donald Trump. We know he's going to get see it. We know he's going to get flustered. It'll be interesting to see how the debate goes going forward with the microphones not being muted, is what my understanding is. So one thing is strategic, and I trust the vice president, since she has been a prosecutor, an attorney, in what she's doing. I have confidence she'll be prepared come the debate. Don't underestimate your opponent, never do, but I'm sure she'll be prepared and ready. And the final thing that just came out today is the revised indictment of the election subversion case that has been refiled by Jack Smith. Okay. So by the time we get to the debate, depending on how that moves forward, and I'm sure in the next couple of days, he'll be flustered over that. He'll be whining and complaining over that as well. So we'll see how that all shakes out. Jack Smith has done a interesting re-indictment, superseding indictment on what he's already presented. And it's interesting, even yesterday, to see how what happens in the documents case that's been sent to the appeal court, to the appellate court regarding that case. So we'll see how it all shakes out. I personally would hope that they would remove Judge Cannon off of the case. It's clear she's playing politics because the things that she did to even wait as long as she did and to use the flimsy excuse that she did before about Jack Smith not being legal to be appointed as a special prosecutor in this case is absurd and ridiculous. So on its face, I'm just hoping that they take the opportunity to remove her completely from the case. It's extremely suspicious about her decision in the case, and it's embarrassing for judges to be removed. But if you open up the embarrassment box on yourself, then so be it. You want to play stupid games, you can win stupid prizes.
You know, Bobby, it's not embarrassing for judges to remove themselves if they were to do the right thing and recuse themselves.
Recuse themselves. That's right.
Exactly. So, so Rodney, do you want to opine on anything that that Bobby talked about?
Well, I think he hit the nails on the head.
Yes, sir.
The most important takeaway I have, Bobby, is we got a spine now.
Yeah.
You got to fight fire with fire, and that's the only thing this man understands, and I'm very pleased to see that.
Absolutely. So one final thing, and I'm gone. Please check your voter registration. Please, okay? I know we'll talk about that later on, Rodney, about what's happening here in Georgia, but right. Please check your voter registration status. They're playing games.
How do we do that, Bobby? How do we check your voter registration?
Yes. You can go to GeorgiaSOS.gov, Secretary of State website, and check your voter registration status, or just do a simple Google search on how to do it, honestly.
My voter page.
Yeah, my voter page. That's it.
My voter page to get you right there.
My voter page.
My voter page. You're correct.
And Bob, I do want to expound just a little bit on two of the topics you talked about, and one is policy. Okay, look, the three of us right now on this screen are probably policy whacks because of just the nature of who we are and what we try to do.
Right.
But let me tell you something. Hillary Clinton had so much policy that you couldn't, I mean, this lady couldn't give you any more policy. So, you know, I'm one to believe all this stuff about, you know, back in the day, or now they'll say, well, it's the economy, stupid. Well, why when you get an economist kind of presidential candidate who's all about the economy, or the economy is great, they end up still losing. And then what about policy? You get these people who are policy whacks. So I'm starting to not believe more of the stuff they say. I do believe that identity politics is a big thing. And so I'll talk about that later on. But, you know, the Republicans they understood that many, many years ago about identity politics. And so to me, I'm starting to believe that it actually trumps all this stuff about policy and all this stuff about economy and everything else. Rodney, look like you got something, brother.
Yeah, bro. I got to get this off before we close this segment. One, I think President Joe Biden has shown himself to be a true patriot. He did the right thing for this country.
Yes.
He did not put himself first. That's number one. So on that theme of patriotism, the convention stole that whole concept away from the Republicans.
Yes,
USA, USA, and patriotism. They showed the people really what it's about.
Agreed.
Yes, they really. One guy was so upset that he was talking about that the Democrats stole camouflage from them. What? I mean, that's how you know, sick these guys are right now. And the other thing, Bobby, that I want to hit on real quick before we let you go is that, of course, this is the Black Man's Roundtable, and one of the things that I think that the Democrats has done a real good job in so far, especially with, you know, since Kamala Harris been at the top of the ticket, is basically fighting back, like you said, like Rodney said, you know, putting in their face, saying, putting on the chicken sounds and all this stuff. This is what black men wanted to see.
Yes.
You know, now I fully understand. I tell anybody any day of the week that I'm not one who believes that black men are not going to vote for Democrat or whatever. Black men are going to vote their normally mid 80% or whatever, right? But it's a difference between voting against something and voting for something. I wanted for the Democratic Party to be able to get black men to vote for something, but we know that we don't have enough numbers. Look, this race is going to come down to, if we're going to talk about groups, this race is going to come down to one group of people in America, what's going to decide it, and that is white women. It's not black men.
Sir.
None about putting on onus on no black men or no black women. It's going to come down to white women.
Yep.
Period. So I just want to make sure that we all understand that, and I'll be watching very closely. You know how, you know, if hopefully white women won't do their normal 54% for the Republicans, but we'll see.
Thank you,
Bobby,
Professor Rodney, you hit the nail on the head.
I try to, man. I try to. Bobby, we always appreciate you, brother, and we'll be looking forward to hearing from you in a couple of weeks. And we got some surprises for folks with Mr. Bobby Fryer. But in a couple of weeks, we'll be hearing you right back here again, man. And Bobby, I always ask you before you leave, any parting words or?
No, I mean, like I said, check your voter registration status. Again, there'll be more to say in a couple of weeks.
Yes, sir.
Amen.
Bobby, appreciate you, brother.
Thank you,
Great
brothers.
job, Bobby. Great job, Bobby.
Right. Thank you.
All right. Mr. Littles, what we got next?
We got the Judge Harry Bowden from Fulton County. Great friend and advocate for our community. We welcome him.
Hey,
Judge Bowden. Hey, how's it going, brother?
It's going good, going real good. I was enjoying that conversation that you all were having. And it took me back. I think I'm the oldest one on here. I don't know. But, you know, when you start talking politics, you start dealing with a lot of issues of how people are brought up and what they are ingrained in and how they're socialized. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to bring out my topic tonight about legitimation. You know, it's interesting. A lot of people don't even understand that the process that we have in our society is a structure. It's a structure based upon status and rights. And one of the rights that people are given, particularly when they are having children, is the ability to control what that new generation will or will not believe. Rodney B. I have to say Rodney B. because both of you all are Rodneys. So I don't want you to get mixed up now.
The Roundup with Rodney and Rodney.
Rodney B., you made a comment there, and the comment was about young men, okay, and what they believe and don't believe. Well, they can only believe what they're taught to believe. And if they're not taught to believe certain ways, then they're not going to believe that. Democrat, Republican, what does it all mean? If they grow up in a household where it's divided, then ultimately they're going to be divided. So you talk about how we as men are able to train our, and I'm gonna stick it on young men because this is the black man's round table. How we train our sons. Well, it comes down to a right to train your son. A lot of people don't know when people have children out of wedlock, there's a separation of rights. Rights. Now, I've used this analogy before on other programs that they're property rights and children are property. And people might say, wait a minute, what did you create? All right, well, try to take one then and see
Go.
what happens, okay? But until they are old enough, the parents has a responsibility to what? Shelter, clothe, feed, and train however they want to train them. And when one parent can't do that because they don't have the rights, it is a blight on our community. It is a blight on our society. But people don't understand those rights are not just acquired freely when you are not married. You have to fight for them. Now, I'm going to talk to you about legitimation. Legitimation is a formal process where specifically men attain the rights of being a parent. The rights of being a parent. Now, think about that. That's a heck of a thing. A lot of people run from being a parent. But what if you want to be a parent and somebody tells you you don't have the right to be a parent? You don't have a right to see this child today. You don't have a right to go out with this child today. You don't have a right to take this child to church, to teach this child what's in your thought process. Legitimation is a formal process where a father who has not married or was not married at the time that child was born, they have to go through the courts to get that right. And a lot of people don't understand it because it makes so much difference. It really does. And it makes the difference as to what our next generations are able to grasp on from authority standpoint. You got a father who's not able to interact or see that child when they want to. Who's the authority in that particular unit? Yes, Rodney.
I'm sorry. No, it's mine. Go
No,
ahead,
I
Terry. I'm
thought you
sorry.
had a question. That's all right. I'm
No,
opening
no,
it,
no. Go
and
right ahead, sir.
I'm running off because I know my time is short. But what I want to do is really employ on your listeners to think about this. If you believe that our children are the future, if a male who is struggling about seeing their child, their children when they want to, guess what? That's your fault. Now, some people gonna say, wait a minute, you mean you're no, I'm not mean. Because it's a process, just like voting is a process. We went through hell to get the right to vote, and we're going through hell to keep the right to vote. So somebody out there who doesn't understand, you have to fight for your rights, particularly when it comes to your children. And it's all about filing a piece of paper and stepping up as a man. Stepping up as a man. I don't understand excuses for not doing that. I have 9 children, 6 biological, 3 blended, but they all mine because I fed them. And I fought to have the right to do what I needed to do as a father. So when somebody says, I can't, I just don't understand it, it turns into I won't. But when that happens, we all suffer. We all suffer because we're going to end up taking care of that child one way or another, inside or outside the bosom. We're going to have to pay taxes for them, whether they be in employment or unemployment. We're going to have to guard ours when they are not given the right direction on how to be a man and what needs to be done. So it's something that, as a black man, I want to share with other black men. Legitimation is serious. And for young men who keep complaining about I don't have or I can't get the right or she don't you give up those rights when you don't get a knowledge base and when you don't understand that you can do something. You can. You have to get the information, you have to apply it. And it's not all discriminatory. It's not. It applies across the board. Now I'm gonna be quiet because you all are sitting there, and maybe you
No,
got.
what we're
No,
look
we're enjoying it.
when we have our guests on, Judge Bowden, we let them go because usually, you guys, number one. Well, not number one, but for one reason, it's so much easier to read the transcripts. If people are going to read the transcripts and they reading just you talking and just giving a lesson, because usually guests that we have on, they are teaching, they are giving lessons. So that's why we kind of sit back and we are building our questions that we have for you
That's
till
right.
the end.
That's right.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let me shorten it so I can take some questions. Legitimation is the process of establishing your parental rights. What those rights give you is the ability to visit your child. What those rights give you is the ability to keep your child, train your child, have a say where your child goes to school, have your say where your child goes to church, have your say at what environment your child lives in, and gives you the opportunity to exercise your rights as a father. As a father. So the process is simple, and you don't need an attorney. And there are
Okay.
attorneys who will help you for free. There are attorneys who will help you for free. There are programs out here. In fact, it's a website called Get My Baby Money. Get My Baby Money. That's right. Because with responsibility also comes the responsibility to pay. And what we have to understand is that we're not paying child support, we're investing in our children. Period.
It's
We're
not a
investing in
cost, it's
that.
an investment, right?
It's an investment. And Rodney L., you know it's an investment that comes back around because at some point in time you may get to be old and that same child that you took and actually raised will be the same one that'll take care of you, or that same child that you ignored will ignore you.
Well put.
That's right.
Well put. Well put. I was going to ask you the question about services for a father that might want, and you answered that one for me. But I had another question for you relative to a lot of these young men. What role models and where can they get the kind of direction and seek a role model that would guide them in this direction? Because if they didn't see it in their own household and their father left them and didn't come back for them, how are they motivated? What's going to motivate them, if they don't have a role model?
Rodney, that role model could be a next door neighbor. Let me just break it down. Any black male who takes the time with a young black male who wants to do better is a starting off role model. And most people know him. Most young guys know Mr. Charles, who owns the tire shop, who will give him a job. Okay, it's not much, but they're not qualified, but will sit there and talk to him. I mean, you do have your standard churches if you want to go that route, to your ministers. If you have a grandfather, a uncle, somebody. But you got to want to do something. So your question is very
Good point.
valid. Where do they get it? Ask.
There you go.
Ask. I mean, it's amazing. I've with 9 children, I've gone through nine segments of generations. And I realized that I made mistakes with the first ones, okay, because you're a young parent. But that process does not change. So by the time you get to the ninth one, you're calm enough to say, just keep on. It'll happen. But what you need to do is this, and then leave it alone. But it never fails that at some point in time, that young man is going to twist and turn and say, I'm not doing the best that I need to be doing. Let me ask. And it may not be you, the father. It might be the uncle. It might be a cousin. It might be somebody who ain't in jail and who ain't down on their luck. If they just ask. Now, there are all kind of different programs. I'm sure you know some, Rodney, programs that young men can get involved in.
Mentorship programs, etc. Yeah, in the schools,
Yeah.
fraternities are involved in them. Yep,
Yep.
yep.
It was a lot. Um, Judge, my question is, so specific to Georgia, what would you say that, that a young man or a black man, young, whatever he is, middle age, whatever, just got a kid. And what is one thing that would you think that you would like to tell him that may surprise him, good or bad, about specifically in Georgia about trying to get legitimization? Like what one thing like may surprise him, that it may be easy, or maybe something that may be easy that he might think is hard, or something that's hard that ends up actually being easy?
The one thing that I would like all young men to know is that the courts are really your friend.
Okay.
When you are going through the process of being responsible about your child, you will find that the entire court system, clerks, bailiffs, secretaries, and yes, even judges are going to help you immensely. They're going to help you. And
Cool.
it starts off with saying, hey, I want to help myself. I want to help my child. You will find out that the paperwork that you have to fill out, that you can go to the clerk's office. They can't give you legal advice, but they can direct you to somebody to help you fill it out. You'll find out when you go before the court. The court will actually sit there and walk you through the process by asking questions and guide you. Because nobody, we're at a point in time, especially with the courts. The courts are so misunderstood by stigma, and they're
Yes,
bad
particularly
out.
by young black men. Yeah,
Yeah,
And,
but
and Judge, not to cut you off, but see, that's why I asked the question, is because, correct me if I'm wrong, but probate court handles both like divorce and legitimization, right? They kind of handle both of those situations, or family court, or is it a little bit different?
it's superior court. Probate
Oh,
court will get
okay.
into it if there's a matter of a death.
Okay, if
Okay,
there's a matter. Okay.
the jurisdiction lies in the superior court.
So that's why I'm
But
glad you cleared that up. See, because me thinking, that's why I asked, like, what would be surprised? Like, I've never had to go through that process, but I I'm surprised in how, like you're saying, the court is your friend, because most people, they think about divorce. How divorce is linked, is leaned towards the women, and I would think, until you just cleared it up, so I'm glad you did. I would think that that the court would also lean toward the woman or whatever when it come down to the child as far as legitimization. But like you said, the court actually want for the father to be legitimate. So I'm glad you brought that. I'm glad you cleared that up.
there was a revolution, if you will, back in the early 90s about fathers' rights. And one senator who's still there, Senator Donzella James,
Yes.
was an advocate for fathers' rights. And that revolution has pushed us now to the law being changed a while ago, even about child support. Both parties pay child support. At one time, it was only the custodial parent, which normally was the mother. However, the playing field has really evened out, and it's kind of eerily evened out. One, because when you go in there, even for divorce issues, it's not all about just one parent. It's about the best interest of the child. And there are a lot of instances where the father may be more stable, and in the best interest of the child, the court will award primary custody to the father.
okay.
So that happens quite a bit. It all is determined to be what's the best interest of the child. Now, what's eerily interesting now is that in a lot of cases, the moms are giving up the children
Really?
to the father.
Oh,
Yes,
wow.
yes. And it's the thing that will wake men up so fast is not
Right.
even funny. because being a primary caretaker for your child is no joke.
Without
We
the
have
help in the
not,
house.
oh, it's no joke. It's 24/7 responsibility.
Got
And
it.
there are mothers and women who are getting smart to that and saying, okay, I tell you what, half and half. You take them half of the month, and I'll take them half of the month. Now, it's a
Got you.
great opportunity for men to put in that paternal, that fatherly time to really raise their children. And it's a good time for the children to get that from them. But it's a change. It is a change in our
Good
whole
point. Good
society.
point.
Yeah. And it's, I can't say it's bad, it's good. I have had primary custody, I have had secondary custody. Ultimately, it's about
Okay.
two people who learn to work together. Legitimation only ensures the rights of the father so that they can have the time they need to be a real parent.
Well, I got a question for you. What about a brother coming out of prison that's done his time? Are there any obstacles that they have to jump through in order to get their rights?
The process is the same. The challenges are different from a stability standpoint. See,
Okay.
when you're getting your rights is not difficult. Exercising your rights for the best interest of the child is something that the court will look at. Now let me break that down.
Oh,
Getting your rights is
please.
simply filling out the paperwork to establish that you are the father. And as the natural father, you can have your rights established. And that is to right, to train, to be with, to teach, to have decisions over their life. Those are all rights that a natural father has. Okay?
Got you.
Now,
Hmm.
whether you're in prison or not or whatever, the process is the same. You file a
Hmm.
petition to legitimate your child. And the only requirement is that you are the natural father.
Oh, that's the only real
That's not a
challenge.
big, I mean, that's not a challenge. So that establishes, okay, you are the father, and I hate that because it's so pulvage, but it establishes that you are the father. But now exercising those rights is where someone coming out of prison is going to need some help. Okay? Because just like when
Got you.
you're on an airplane, they say first what? Put the mask on yourself before anybody
Self.
else.
Right.
You got to establish
Right.
yourself, your stability for work, for living, even a mindset. Depending on how long they've been in prison, you know,
I
it,
understand.
it can determine the mindset, but the process is the same. So they'll get legitimation right. They legitimate the child. That will be the same. But exercising it after that is where there may need some help.
Got it. So if they get their act together and put a plan together to be in a position to meet those requirements, then that's the way that they have to go.
Yeah, just file the paperwork. It's all about paperwork, and it's a petition. It's a self-explanatory petition. I am the father.
Right.
This is when he was born. This is the relationship I was in with the mom, and I'm stepping up. Now the mother would have to then come and say, "Oh, you ain't the daddy." Then,
Gotcha.
then
Yeah.
there's an issue.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. And see, with that comes, I want to legitimate my child. I'm the father, and I am going to pay child support.
Got it. And
And
you spend time.
the wonderful thing about that is that you get ahead of the curve. In
Oh,
other
I
words,
see.
now you're giving the narration of what the facts are on your payment, and it's all mathematical now. There's no mystery in it. It's a set percentage of the money you make.
Oh,
So it's not difficult. If you make $1,000 a week, a certain percentage goes to the kids. But also, the other parent has to pay child support. So now the mother has to pay a certain percentage. The only difference is the custodial parent, presumably whoever is keeping the child, does not pay directly to the other person.
Oh,
Okay,
they
but
cover the bills, a portion of the bills. How does that work?
it's a percentage of what you make.
Okay.
A percentage of what you make. The best thing is when two people work together to raise a child. But legitimation is so important because people complain, men complain. This is a black man's roundtable.
Yes, sir.
My challenge is to anybody out there who has this issue, stop complaining.
Got it.
And I'll take a phrase from our next president. Do
Do
something.
something.
Do something. You know,
Gotcha.
Judge Bowden, in fact, not the last, but on the main roundtable, I had my very first podcaster, another podcaster on the show, and he fought tooth and nail, and he went through, and he talked about this on the show, because that's what the show was about. He went through tooth and nail, but he got custody of his son.
Okay.
And he went through a lot. It was a couple of episodes ago. I'm not sure of the episode, but you are absolutely. His name was what was it? NMG. Because he got this podcast called No More Mr. Nice Guy, and so I love the title of his podcast, by the way. But he talked about that. But he's a single father, and he has full custody of his son, and it was a great show. And what I'm glad that you're bringing is that, for these brothers, first of all, brother, stop acting like somebody owe you something for doing your job, for being a father. All this, you're looking for accolades, you're looking for this. It is what you are supposed to be doing, okay? I raised 2 girls. I cut their umbilical cords, okay? I never look for somebody to give me a compliment or reward for raising my daughters, So, but now all this stuff about you're legit, well, this is exactly what the judge is talking about today, is legitimacy. You know what? You can say you're legit all you want, but at the end of the day, if you're not legit by a court, then you are not legitimized, just the way that it is. So get legit, do what the judge say. And I talk about it all the time, and rightly know it. Just because, look, I think black men, it's been proven time and time again, Judge, I'm sure you probably know this, of so many studies and so many surveys been done that black men, of all the men in America, of all the subgroup of men in America, black men actually spend the most quality time with their children. We are, look, because of institutional racism and so many other isms, we are not, we don't have the nuclear family like so many other families have. But that does not mean that we do not take our children and love our children. And what the judge is saying today, brother, we know you love your children. Just get legit about it.
That's right. Exercise, get your rights, exercise your rights, enjoy your rights. Because they're there for you. They're there, they really are there for you. And you would be so happy once you start this journey on how many people are there to assist you.
Because you get as much out of being a parent as the child gets out of being a child when you take that you take advantage of your rights.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well,
And it's another thing too, which a lot of people don't realize. If something is devastating, if something happens to that child, you will have absolutely no ability to make any decisions on how to deal with it. Let's do it conversely. If that child is a superstar and still a child, you have no ability to have any input on how that child lives or how that child grows up. It's a hurting thing to know that you will miss that opportunity. It's a hurting thing, and I wouldn't want that on anybody, especially when it's in your reach. Ask and get it done. As Rodney B says, get legit.
Judge, look, we appreciate you. We will actually look. You know, we're going to call back on you because this is the kind of stuff that what I learned today. If I didn't learn anything else, is this whole legitimacy process, but also that the courts are there for you. Yeah. Even at my big age, I would have thought that, you know what, they're not there for you, man. They always there for the mother. They always trying to give the dad a hard time. Look, so we're going to need you to come back and make sure that on some of these subjects, on some of these things, especially when we're talking about, the legal system and stuff like that, to make our young, not even young, make our black men in general just feel, have a little bit more compassion, a little bit more not being afraid of the system, so we're going to need you back.
Knowledge is power. Let's give them the knowledge and give them the tools that they can use to do what needs to be done.
Right, to close it out for us, brother.
Your Honor, how do we follow you? I know you're a social media guy because I know you. So tell me how people can follow you.
Well, I'm retired, so right. my latest fun bag is TikTok.
Okay.
So you can always get me on at Judge Harry Bowden from Under the Robe, where I talk about a number of things, but I'm also on Facebook, Child Support Court TV, Child Support Court TV, and Patreon. I got a Patreon page where I give this advice, and childsupportcourttv.com is a web page that I have. And again, I have videos and give advice about the whole issue of domestic relations. And what they could do is just call Rodney Butler and Rodney Little and tell them to get in touch with me.
Yep, no, they you know what? They're gonna have your information. Your information will be available on the screen and stuff. So they'll have it. They'll have it, Your Honor. So we appreciate you.
Yes, sir. All right. We definitely appreciate you. We're definitely gonna have you back.
All right. Thank you.
Talk to you soon.
All right.
Okay now. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Peace. We'll be saying, "Here come the judge," boy. I'm telling you,
man. That was a lot of good information, and these are the kind of subjects that we have to keep bringing. The brothers out there, man. We talk a lot about we keep them engaged on the political spectrum, but our goal on the Roundup, because we want to round up everything, and our goal on the Roundup is to continue to bring the viewers and the followers of the Roundup a whole host of information with a whole host of different kind of different kind of guests that's going to really bring it to them and know what they're talking about. So
exactly.
And of course you do a lot of that as a producer of this show, and we appreciate it. It takes a lot. It takes a lot off a lot of people, and I wish people understand. I think people know that it ain't easy getting people on and doing this stuff. So
no, sir.
So you gotta know somebody. You gotta be some people. So all right, what we got our hot topics coming up.
We got a hot one.
We got a hot one today, and the good thing about it is, see, people think, okay, all they talk about is stuff that is for men. A lot of the stuff that we do are geared toward men, but guess what? Women, our sisters can benefit if we like sisters always say, right? I just can't find a good man. Okay. Well,
that's right.
The Black Man's Roundtable, we're doing our level best to, I'm not going to say, create good men, because we're not, they're already good. We just trying to bring them the information to bring out that good man that's been kind of pushed in the shadows. Amen. So all subjects are up. But today it's kind of going to follow into a whole family thing. We talked about legitimization with the judge, and today, and for our hot topic today, we are going to talk about a specific case, but we're going to talk about midwifery and doulas, right?
Right.
And sometimes, Rodney, as me and you have talked about before, sometimes what's new is old and what's old is new. Sometimes I think we have to bring back some of the. And I want to remind everybody I had an eye situation today, so that's why you keep seeing me rub my eye. I actually just had a procedure done about 4.5 hours ago, so on my left eye, but my left eyelid, not my eyeball. But anyway,
The show must go on.
the show must go on. So, but anyway, Rodney, we talk about, how sometimes we got to bring back stuff,
Yes, sir.
and I think in talking about there's so the rate for
Infant mortality.
mortality, and for the mothers who are having these babies, but the infant for black babies,
childbirth.
the infant mortality rate is 3 times higher than that from black women, black babies as white babies, and then black mothers are twice as likely to die on a delivery table as white mothers, and so it begs to think that it might be time to bring back the old practice of taking this into our own hands.
Amen. I thought our society was such pro-life. If we're such pro-life, why are we letting this happen in a society which is the richest country on the planet?
Because see, Rodney, you know what? If those numbers, if those percentages were flipped,
you got that right.
You see what I'm saying? So that's
right.
why I tell everybody, you can say all day long it's about, it's about the economy or it is about this and that, but a lot of this stuff is identity. But this one case, right now, I got it here on the screen. It is where you can find it on the Atlantic. No, I'm sorry, the Atlanta Black Star, as well as there was another one, Black Enterprise. But anyway, I'll read it here. The parents of a newborn baby filed a lawsuit against a Connecticut doctor claiming his alleged use of a vacuum 15 times resulted in their child's death. So basically, and this mother was begging, okay? She was begging for a C-section.
Right.
But they kept coming in and they kept using this vacuum, this suction thing, to suck the baby out of the mother. Now, I'm not an OBGYN, but I'm also somebody who believes that I do believe we need gynecologists. I just sometimes question how much we need obstetricians. And the reason I say that is because, Rodney, in Europe and so many other places, they don't see childbirth as an illness. Right.
Gotcha.
So you see women having babies in cars every day. Our foremothers, they had babies out in the field while they picking cotton. Cotton and just keep it moving. Right. So
who did they have helping them?
Yeah, you already know. You already know.
All right, come
you
on,
already know. You creating a whole entire career field for white men. Basically, is what you did. There is absolutely hardly any use. And so I say that to say, and look, I don't need all kind of people calling me or hitting me up talking about, we need, obstetricians. I'm not saying we don't need them. I'm just saying that I don't believe that birth isn't, that having a baby is an illness, that it's a natural function it's a natural function. I don't understand it. But again, we make a big deal out of that, and it's a big time industry. But the way they treat these women, especially our black women, Rodney, they treat them like cattle. And so the more babies an obstetrician delivers a day, the more money he makes. So guess what? Now this is just anecdotal. This is just me thinking, right?
Okay.
This lady, this sister, this black woman is screaming, yelling for him to do a C-section, but you keep on trying to suck this baby out till you kill it, okay? And a C-section is surgery. So my guess would be if you did a C-section, a cesarean section, then I don't know how long that takes. My wife had 2 kids and we didn't have a cesarean section, but my guess would be surgery is going to take a long time. Whereas you could have delivered 5 babies that day. Now maybe you can only do 2. So it's like, let's suck this baby out. You see what I'm saying? Now again, I don't know that for sure. I'm just trying to make sense out of how can a doctor who takes the Hippocratic oath, how can a doctor, ignore a woman's request, a mother's request for a C-section, I don't think women go into the hospital to deliver their baby in minds of, hey, I can't wait to have a C-section, but she's
No.
begging you for it. That's what it says on
Yes.
these. She's begging you to do
She
that.
knows her body.
She knows her body, and you continue to suck the baby out or whatever until you kill it. And so that's the only logic that I have, Rodney, is that I know that the obstetricians just try to go boom, 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 and that's why they only come in right when you're so many centimeters. It's like, okay, I do remember that. It's like you whatever the head start to crown, and then they come in, they do their and they're out. And the nurses
Right.
take care of all that. Well, why not? Why not have doulas? Why not have midwives
I was going to ask you, how do we deal with this?
to do this work? Talk to me, Rodney. How? What do you think, man?
Absolutely, absolutely. From the research that we've done in our conversations, it seems like it's a natural because they're the advocate for you. They're there pre, during, and post. Because my wife's had 2 children, and I tell you, I bow down to women.
Yes, sir. It's a
They're
miracle,
definitely
man.
superior,
it's a miracle,
bro.
A miracle, bro.
Because she needed to have prenatal care. She needed to have the kind of coaching through the process, an advocate, someone who's not there to make a buck off of the delivery, but's looking out for her care, the woman's care, and the baby's care. That's where the midwifery care comes in from what you and I have talked about.
Absolutely. And then from what I've researched, there are several institutions, and one of them here in Metro Atlanta, I don't have it right now with me, but it is as far as certifying doulas, right? The doulas are the ones who, and that's DOULA, doula, are the
Correct.
ones who, kind of, they're like the nurses, if you will. They, like Rodney talked about, they take care of you before, during, and after. They stay with you. They understand you. But the midwife, and look, I've seen it, Rodney, where the research is that you can be a certified doula in
Yes,
like
sir.
7-week courses.
Yes, sir.
Again, I'm no expert on it, but I want for the followers, the listeners of the round table to do your own research. We can't give you everything. We don't try to give you
sir.
everything in an hour, but what we try to do is we try to alert you to some of the things that are going on. And so midwives is a little bit different. They are
Yes.
kind of like I think you get like it's like a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, or something like that in nurse NMW, I think, nurse midwife, something like that. But either way, so it takes a lot more. But that nurse does a lot of the stuff that your obstetrician would normally do.
That's correct.
And this is normally a woman. Look, we are already So Rodney, if it's been proven already that if statistical data have proven that when a black woman, when she has a black OBGYN, and both mine were
Culturally competent.
exact, that all of a sudden the life expectancy for the newborn and for the wife, and for the mother, is all of a sudden equal to white women.
It's a racial disparity, my friend.
So we just need to think about it, Rodney. We really do.
Yes.
I think our women,
Yes.
look, I've talked to my wife, I've talked to my daughters to please look into what it takes to become a midwife and what it takes to become a doula. I know midwife is so much more cut out, and they all got things going on, but a doula is something that I think a whole lot of black women can really do to help us with this situation. Go ahead, brother.
One of the obstacles is the insurance coverage for this sort of thing. We need to be pressuring insurance companies to cover this type of care.
You see how they do us, right?
Yes, sir.
You see, they always put a link. They always put something in there. But see, here's the thing: the insurance company. See, this is why. And we're not going to get back. We already had our politics corner because me and you can take anything and make it. We can take anything and put it on the politicians. But this is why. This is why your insurance commissioners, people, when we tell you guys to vote down ballot, okay?
Yes, sir.
The vote down ballot, and the vote, and all politics is local. This is what we're talking about. I promise you, if enough women were to put the pressure on the insurance commissioner and make whoever's running for the state insurance commissioner, people there's so much obscurity with these certain political positions, they don't want you to know what they do. You just think, well, okay, my car insurance low and whatever, I'm good or whatever. But no. If it's a platform for them to for that state, for them to recognize, and also to not let them run away with insurance rates for if you got a doula versus if you're delivering in a hospital or whatever, or if you got a prenatal or postnatal care, because So I think you are absolutely right with that, Rodney. But I think that if we keep educating the people, enough pressure will be put on these insurance commissioners and these governors and all these other people to cut that out.
Well, in Georgia, the state insurance commissioner is an elected position.
Yes.
And a sister ran the last 2 times, Janice Law. And bet your bottom dollar, has she become commissioner, we wouldn't have this conversation. She ran as a Democrat, but we did not put her in.
Yep, because if people knew what the position was, one of the things that I really tried to teach the Black Man's Roundtable audience on this past local election cycle, Rodney, and I think it was effective, which is the job and the importance of the county coroner. That is but again, another one that's obscure. I'm not going to go off into all of that, but I'm just saying, look, all of this stuff, ladies and gentlemen, it ties off into who we have sitting in these positions. And so that's what Rodney is talking about. And I'm so glad he talked about the insurance piece, because they're always trying to find a way to keep people, especially women, out of certain fields and let certain other people take them over. But, it's just like it's the same thing happening with dental hygienists. They are fighting to not have to work under a dentist in order to work, because most of the time you go to the dentist, who are you dealing with? You're dealing with the hygienist. The dentist come in just same way you dealing with a nurse, and the doctor come in and do they 1, 2, 3 and they out. They trying to move to the next thing. So, I really do. This is something that's really near and dear to my heart, Rodney, because we should not be losing our sisters on tables like that, and the inhumane. And we know historically, we're not going to go all the way back to Tuskegee and other kinds of things, but we know that for this man to basically suck a baby out of this woman so he can, I'm assuming, so he can hurry up and move her to the next one, and she's begging you for a C-section. I'm sure that if that man looked like his sister or his daughter, he would not have done that.
Now you hit the nail on the head. We need anti-bias training in the healthcare industry. That would include midwives and doulas also. But this training can help reduce the impact of implicit bias on medical decisions. That's what you're talking about.
Absolutely.
Implicit bias in medical decisions.
Yes, sir. And he, like it says, it's he had, I guarantee you were to interview this guy, he has no idea that implicit bias had a part to do with he probably just figured I would have done the same thing if she did look like my sister. Come on, man. You don't even realize it. You don't even know. Because again, Rodney, like we talked about, when all of a sudden when you have a black trying to make sure, when you have a black OBGYN, all of a sudden the percentages of them surviving is equal to that of white women. So the proof is in the pudding, and it is what it is, man. So
and I can talk about a personal experience, Rodney.
Yeah,
my
please.
son was being born. Both of our kids we had a black doctor, Dr. Ford, and my son's heartbeat was going down in the delivery, trying to get him out. And the doctor said, "Whoa, stop pushing." He went in and took the umbilical cord from around his neck so he could be born alive. There was no bias because the doctor looked just like my wife.
Rodney, I promise you, I just heard, it was on TV. It's not a personal story, but where a couple gave the exact same claim that you just gave, which was that the umbilical cord was wrapped around the neck of the baby, and the nurse, it was the nurse continued to try to get the baby do something. I forget exactly, but the nurse she knew that it was wrapped around the baby's neck, and this nurse just happened to be white, but they had a black OBGYN, and I think it was a male. I'm not sure. This was probably maybe 6 months ago that I saw this on TV. Yeah. And I forget what show, I forget whatever. But the doctor walked in, immediately saw that, and shut the whole thing down. They basically said that he scolded the nurse right there in front of everybody, and he stopped it. He stopped it.
Amen.
And basically what they said he told them is that there is no way that she could not see that the umbilical cord was wrapped around the baby's neck.
Right.
And the baby was asphyxiating, as this is happening.
Implicit bias, bro.
Yes. And you know what? And I hope that I hope that most of it is implicit. And I think in some of it, Rodney, I believe it is just outright. I mean, you went through all of this training.
Right.
You outright, something's wrong with you. You know what I'm saying? And you know exactly what you're doing. So, but anyway,
great topic, Rodney.
Absolutely, man. It ties in. I'm glad we talked about the black, because all this affect the black family today, Rodney.
That's what we're talking about.
It all affects the black
family.
family.
We do care about family.
We do care about family. We care about family a lot. If you don't think so, F around and find out.
There you go.
We care about our family. So, but look, Rodney, hey man, another great show. When we got our next episode, you have the dates better than me. You have it right there in front of you. I meant to write it down.
Yeah. It's going to be in September. I believe it's the 10th.
Yeah,
if I'm not mistaken.
2 Thursdays from now. So
it's the 10th, September 10th.
It's the 10th? Okay. September the 10th.
September's here already.
Absolutely. And hey, and like always, you guys get a nice flyer. We'll have, a great guest on for you. We'll always try to have a guest on for you. When we don't have a guest on for you for those few times, we will make sure that we have 2 great topics to talk about for you. And we're gonna bring it, and that's what we do. And Rodney, I think that is it for today. Great show, man. Great guest. Bobby, you always do it for us. So, that being said, we will keep rounding them up, Rodney.
Yes, sir. Unbought and unbossed. Join us until next time.
Peace. Don't forget to check us out on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. Do you have show ideas or want to be on the show? Shoot us an email at blackmansroundtable@gmail.com. And please follow us on Facebook.